It was just another quiet morning in Millfield, Ohio, until three men in fake uniforms tied a retired teacher to a street pole over a fake lawn violation. But what they didn't expect was the storm that would follow. This is the true story of how one mother's dignity sparked a neighborhood uprising and brought down a hidden network of corruption. Millfield, Ohio, was the kind of place where time moved slower, where neighbors brought each other soup when the power went out, and arguments usually ended with shared pie on a porch swing. My mother, Evelyn Harper, had lived on Pine Street for over 3 decades. She was a retired high school teacher, famous for her fierce sense of fairness, and the garden she tended like it was a cathedral. That morning was no different. She was out front, wearing her wide-brimmed sun hat, pruning the rose bushes with her gloved hands. Her yard was flawless. She had always said a tidy home reflected a tidy soul. I was inside, watching her through the front window while making coffee. When the white van pulled up, three men got out. At first glance, they looked official dark uniforms, clipboards, emblems stitched to their jackets. The words HOA Enforcement Unit were printed across their backs. That was strange. There had been no notice, no email, no community memo, just the van, just the men. I stepped outside just as they approached her. "You're in violation," one said gruffly. "Grass exceeds height restrictions by nearly an inch." My mother blinked at him, straightened her back, and responded with the voice that once silenced classrooms. "I mow it every Tuesday. That's tomorrow. Show me the regulation." They didn't. Instead, the tone shifted. "This is an official citation. Noncompliance triggers disciplinary protocol." "What protocol?" she asked. And then, before I could reach her, they grabbed her. I was shouting before I was running, but they moved fast. Two held her arms, while the third pulled zip ties from his pocket. They marched her to the streetlight on the corner of Pine and Larch and tied her to it. They tied my 70-year-old mother to a pole, her hands behind her, her back against rusted metal. On her own street, neighbors came running. Phones came out, some screamed, others froze in disbelief. One woman, trembling, whispered to no one in particular, "Is this real?" It was real, and it spread. The video, just 43 seconds long, hit social media that night. By morning, it had gone viral, local news, then national. Everyone asking the same question: who were these men? The uniforms were fake, the citations didn't exist. The van was registered to a shell company in Toledo. Within days, the truth unraveled. Their leader was a name buried in Millfield's history: Lawrence Calhoun, a former HOA board member, charismatic, ruthless, and quietly removed years ago for embezzlement and misconduct after a messy internal audit. He disappeared before charges could be filed. But apparently, he hadn't gone far. Over the last year, he had assembled a team disgraced former contractors, ex-security officers, angry former HOA volunteers. Together, they masqueraded as an enforcement branch for the neighborhood association, preying on confusion and fear. They created their own fines, invented their own rules, and bullied those who questioned them. Their mission: take back order. They chose the wrong neighborhood and the wrong woman. After what happened to my mom, something shifted. The fear that Karen and Lawrence had thrived on collapsed under the weight of outrage. Our quiet community rose up. It started with a backyard meeting, then 2, then 5. People who barely spoke before were now printing flyers, researching bylaws, and contacting the real HOA leadership, some of whom admitted they had no idea what Lawrence had been doing. They'd assumed he'd disappeared completely. They had been wrong. My mother refused to hide. She stood in front of the cameras, reading from a handwritten statement with her chin lifted high. "No one should ever be afraid on their own street," she said. "No uniform, no clipboard, and no man has the right to decide that dignity is negotiable." That clip was shared 12 million times. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. This time, we came prepared. We brought legal counsel. We brought media. And we brought truth. A projector lit up the room, frame by frame. It showed the enforcers dragging my mother, their faces, their tags, every fake form they had issued. We had documents, timestamps, vehicle tracking, and testimony from over 30 neighbors, and then, from the back, a man stood. It was Lawrence. He tried to speak. He tried to justify. He used words like order, discipline, and restoration. But no one heard him over the boos, the gasps, the silence that followed. Because behind him, someone had rolled in the pole. The same pole they tied my mother to, cleaned, repainted, now mounted on a wheeled platform, upright like a witness. On it was a new plaque for Evelyn Harper. The day the silence ended. The vote was swift. The HOA bylaws were amended that night. A new leadership committee was formed, with mandatory rotation every year. All fines now required a documented citation and community vote. No enforcement action could occur without oversight. And a new committee led by Evelyn and her former students was created to resolve conflicts with compassion and mediation. Calhoun was arrested 2 days later. So were the other men. The charges included impersonation, assault, unlawful restraint, and fraud. But the real victory came in the weeks after. Neighbors who had once kept to themselves began organizing gardens together. Weekly potlucks popped up on corners. Kids chalked the sidewalks with murals that stretched for blocks. Someone built a little free library outside our old community center, and on Saturdays, Evelyn now holds coffee chats under the oak tree beside the pole. She listens, advises, laughs, and every so often, she looks over and smiles, as if to say, "You thought tying me to a post would make me smaller, but it made all of us bigger." What happened on Pine Street wasn't just about a rogue ex-board member or a staged uniform. It was about how easily we let fear dress itself in authority, and how quickly that illusion shatters when truth steps into the light. Evelyn Harper was tied to a pole, but they didn't break her. They built a movement instead. And Millfield, it found its voice again. One neighbor, one block, one morning at a time.